Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, two items on the agenda. The Republican candidates, what's left of them, and where are they headed? And also, we will be speaking about the National Defense Authorization Act that was actually approved by the Senate and approved by the House. And now we are waiting for President Obama to sign it on Friday. He said he might or he will veto. We will see. But if this act becomes a law, then say goodbye to democracy in the United States and say welcome to a military state, because with this particular act, the president will have the authority to detain any American citizen just because he's accused of helping the enemy, in a language that is not defined of what helping the enemy means. Now, the president will be using the military for that. As you know, the military was actually designed by Constitution to protect the country and fight wars. There are other agencies that are basically taking care of the country on the inside. But now with this particular act, the President of the United States will have the power to actually tell the military they can arrest, detain indefinitely, without charges, American citizens just for being labeled as helping the enemy. Not too many of the mainstream media actually covered that. They don't cover those things. They only cover the silly stuff of what is happening with Herman Cain and what is going on with Rick Perry and what Kim Kardashian is after. But something like this that is taking your freedoms out completely, destroying the Constitution of the United States you did not know about, and you probably, it will become a law and you will not even hear of it. It is the 2012 National Defense Authorization Act. Pay close attention to Friday, because that is when the president is either supposed to sign it or veto it. Well, when you put something like that in a Defense Authorization Act, that's basically what you cannot veto an act like that, because that's basically taking care of the whole of all of our defenses, military, etc., etc. But they included that in it, authorizing the president to use the military to detain indefinitely American citizens on American soil without being charged. Welcome to the new Soviet Union, because that's exactly what was happening in the Soviet Union, and that's exactly what was happening in those dictatorships that we are going all over the place replacing. So it's not that just they don't like our democracy. We love their oppression. So we're going to give them our democracy and bring their oppression to our shores. Well, the Republican Jewish Coalition a couple of days ago had a candidate, the Republican candidate, were the guest of this coalition, where everyone got to talk, all the Republican candidates, except one person who was not invited. If you guessed Ron Paul, you're right, because they accused Ron Paul of being extremist. They accuse him of being anti-Israel and anti-Semite. The reason they do that? Because he said we want to cut off aid to other countries. We don't want to send our children to die for other countries. Now, he did not say that exact words, but you will hear in one of the interviews he gave that he did say that we don't need to send our kids to die for other countries. And, well, he didn't say that for other countries, but we want to send our money and our kids for other purposes. You will hear his exact words. But that's exactly what it is. And then if you hear the presidents, the candidates, the Republican candidates, just in case if you forgot how they look like, we do have a picture of them that show all of them, even with Herman Cain. But here they are. You see, the one from, the second from right is Ron Paul. He's probably the only one that is not being covered by the mainstream media, plus a couple of others that are unknown. But the media is having a heyday. Of course, they had their day with Herman Cain, and they had their days with Rick Perry and Mitt Romney. Now, Newt Gingrich is basically the one flying high. Well, Michelle Bachmann, I think, her star kind of rose a little bit, but I don't think so. She did not pan up to be a credible and a serious contender, so I very much write her off. And the others, well, the only one now is Gingrich, and they will probably continue with Gingrich all the way to the convention. They might do a combination of Gingrich, Romney, or I don't think Rick Perry is really serious enough to be considered for anything. I think he wanted to try the 21st style presidential candidate, and I don't think that's going to pan up either with him. So the only two serious ones, unless the media kind of whips up one of the others, I really think we will see a repeat of McCain-Palin with Gingrich and somebody. If that happens, then you know for a fact that they don't want a Republican president. The powers that be do not want a Republican president. They want Obama too. And rightfully so, because he proved to be the president of choice for them. He expanded the war, even though he said he's going to end it. Just like George Bush, when he said he's not going to be in the world policing state and he will not be in the nation building, he ended up being exactly that. And with Obama and his promises and the change we can live with, turned out to be a change we can live without. So if we do end up with a Gingrich, now Gingrich, I'm going to say what I said about McCain at that time and all the time, that if McCain was the only one on the ballot, he will lose. Just like if Gingrich is the nominee for the Republicans or on the Republican ticket, if he's the only one on the ballot, he will lose too, because I don't believe the nation is ready for a Newt Gingrich for president. Therefore, you only have one serious contender, and that is Barack Obama, who is very much doing exactly what the powers that be wanted him to do. The Republican Jewish Coalition is a political action committee. It's a coalition of Jewish organizations, Republicans, who mainly spend a lot of money given to the Republican candidates. Well, they did invite everyone except Ron Paul. And we are going to play a clip here in a second that it'll give you a better idea of why Ron Paul was actually excluded. Now, I want you to listen to the host asking him questions, especially about a minute something into the interview. she made it sound as if if you say something against Israel, do not dream about becoming the President of the United States. As a matter of fact, if you say something negative about Israel, or if you are perceived to say something negative about Israel, then the media will not consider you as a serious contender. Imagine that. And you will see that in her questioning to Mr. Ron Paul, as if he's not serious if he says something that Israel does not like. Now, we're going to talk about Ron Paul after we listen to this clip to tell you that Ron Paul is the only man, in my opinion, that will get us out of the mess we are in. Many of you don't see it because many of you are brainwashed by the same media that is excluding him. It is not just the Republican Jewish coalition that is excluding Ron Paul. I guarantee you, if you get a chance to hear this man, I guarantee you if the media would put him under the spotlight, he will not only get the Republican votes, he will get the country's vote. Because Ron Paul is an American for America. The others are Americans for Israel. Now, which one do we want? I would say go with the American for America. Let's play the first clip.
What a day it's been, and now we get to talk to, live from Capitol Hill, Representative Ron Paul, Republican, running for president. Congressman Paul, welcome. Thank you for coming back on the show. And let me just point out, you know, you're there on Capitol Hill. You're not with your fellow candidates at this pro-Israel forum. We've shown several of them speaking today, and this is because the Republican Jewish coalition chose to exclude you. They say that you're anti-Israel, you're extreme. Here's my question to you, sir. Did you at all take a moment and protest your exclusion and say, say this, I hear you laughing, say, hey, this is America, I should be heard as well?
Well, that's one point of view, and that's a healthy point of view, and, you know, healthy discussion is a good American tradition, too. But, you know, it's a private organization, so me being very much aware of what private organizations can do, you know, I really don't have much recourse. But I think in public opinion, people will ask questions. Why is he excluded? No, he doesn't say everything like everybody else, but maybe that's what we need. Maybe we do need a full discussion, and to paint it and say, well, maybe he's not supportive of Israel, he's anti-Israel. That's being dismissed rather carelessly and unfairly. So I've had my chance, and we have a little bit of an access to internet to explain my position, so it may well appear here rather shortly.
Okay, so as it appears shortly, I also want to read something that you said not too long ago at a CNN candidate forum. Sir, you say, quote, why do we have this automatic commitment that we're going to send our kids and send our money endlessly to Israel? I think they're quite capable of taking care of themselves. Congressman Paul, with all due respect, that doesn't sound like a candidate who will realistically challenge for the Republican nomination.
Well, what you need to do is go and read the speech that Netanyahu gave on the House floor here just a couple of months ago. He says, we don't need American troops. We can take care of ourselves. So that might be worth looking into it. We don't have a treaty with Israel, and we should be friends with Israel, and we should, you know, trade with them and do all these things. But to commit another generation, we don't even have the right to do it. And if it's necessary to be involved in a war, the president doesn't make that decision. The people do it through a declaration of war in the Congress. I don't know what's so extreme about, you know, following the rules and a little bit of decorum and being sensible about it. I worry about this carelessness of go to war anytime we want. That's our greatest problem, is we're involved in too many wars, and we should be very careful on how we go to wars. But if Netanyahu says that he doesn't need our troops over there, why am I not allowed to say that as well?
But Congressman, with the stance, and we've heard this from you, that we are involved in too many wars, that we could be. Is it emblematic at all of the box you find yourself in? Because you certainly have some very faithful supporters, your core group of supporters, but because you are so committed, so libertarian, you're forever unlikely to garner mass appeal.
Well, I think America's in a box. We're in a box with our national defense. We spend too much money policing the world, getting involved in nation building. We're going bankrupt. We have to borrow all the money we spend overseas. We're in a financial crisis. America's in a box. I'm not in a box. I'm just telling the truth about what's going on.
Do you at all feel like you've boxed yourself in, and so come time for the rest of the country to vote for you, you're not going to have that support in mass?
I think you have it backwards. I think the American people are boxed in and they want out, and that's why I get support. Well, why do I get I get twice as much support as all the other candidates from the military, and they're sick and tired of being boxed in too. So I would say the boxing in is the American people, the American taxpayer, and these unlimited commitments and going to war under the United Nations and NATO, and Obama went into Libya, didn't even consult with the Congress. That's being really boxed in. That's what we have to deal with.
Congressman, speaking of your hands-off foreign policy, we have to talk about Donald Trump. So he's out there, and he's out there saying, you don't give a hoot if Iran gets a nuclear weapon.
Well,
you heard that?
He's wrong. Yeah, but he's wrong because I give a hoot about nuclear weapons. I don't want anybody to have them. I think they're terrible. I think we should do what we can. I mean, we treated Libya differently. We talked them out of it. So what did we do then? We bombed them and threw Gaddafi out of office. So, but yes, I care about it. I think we should have a lot less. But I don't want to be going to war against another country who doesn't have a nuclear weapon, and they're not even on the verge of it, according to our own CIA agents. There's no evidence they're on the verge of a nuclear weapon. And this was the same warmongering talk that we went into war against Iraq. Why don't we, pay attention? Why should we? The greatest danger we face today is carelessly starting a war against Iran because of a weapon they don't have. And even recently retired head of the Mossad said that would be the stupidest thing in the world for us to do, is start bombing Iran because they might have a nuclear weapon.
So moving along from foreign policy, got to talk about this race that you're in. And here's my question. Newt Gingrich, is he the Republican frontrunner now? Do you see it that way?
Well, he's the flavor of the week. So we don't know what'll be next week.
Not the frontrunner then, you say?
Well, I mean, it has to be there up for more than a week, and the only thing that really counts is a month from now. And if you look at our growth in the polls, I mean, ours is steady. One thing is that nobody takes it away from me that it's not solid. People don't come and go.
Okay. Well, the most important actually was in the beginning of that clip you've seen when she asked him. Now, he did make a statement that, how long are we going to continue endlessly sending our money and kids to Israel? Now, I know we send money to Israel, and everybody knows we send money to Israel, but what did he really mean by kids? Now, if you have been watching this program, now he can't say it, but we can, that all the wars that we are engaged in the Middle East is for Israel. We went to war against Iraq, not because of something that Iraq did to us, but it was an Israeli objective in its own right, as they wrote it in their own documents. So what did he mean by endlessly sending our money and kids? Well, that's exactly what we're doing. We have our children dying for wars for Israel. That's why Israel is so scared of this man, because this guy is an American. This guy is not afraid to stand up and say, you're wrong. Now, they're controlling the media, and he knows it, and he's talking about it. They control money. They control the Federal Reserve Bank. Go see what Ron Paul says about the Federal Reserve Bank. Go see what JFK said about the Federal Reserve Bank, and he lost his life. Now, if this man becomes a serious contender, but the Republicans are not going to even put him on the ticket. It's up to you. It's up to you as citizens of this country. If you want to prove that our Constitution still works, then get out there and campaign for this man to become the savior of the United States, not just the president of the United States. Newt Gingrich? Well, let's see what Newt Gingrich says about Israel. What camp is he in? Is he in the American camp, or is he in the Israeli Zionist camp? Let's see what he said at the Jewish Coalition, the Republican Jewish Coalition.
Well, our challenge today will likely not meet with such a simple solution. Our commitment to Israel's protection remains as staunch as it has been from the moment of Israel's birth. And I would also say this to the brave people of Israel. Never, ever underestimate the hold that Israel has on the American heart. The American people have always believed in Israel, and we believe in Israel still. Together, we will renew our mutual commitment to freedom and justice, and we will work to achieve a peace in which war and bloodshed and violence are no longer a common feature of life for you and your children. Well, our challenge today will likely not meet with such a simple solution. Our commitment to Israel's protection remains.
Okay? The hold that Israel has on the American heart. Well, I want to say the hold that Israel has on the American policy, on the American Congress, on the American media, on the American economy. That's what he should have said. But he said that the security of Israel. Do you realize that these people talk about the security of Israel more than they talk about, and they care about the security of Israel more than they care about the security of the United States? Do you realize that? The hold that Israel has on the American heart. Unless he's sending us a coded message there, maybe Newt Gingrich can't come out and tell us what he's talking about, so we need to know exactly, is he trying to send us a secret message that maybe he wants to become the president because he understands what these people are doing and he's going to do something about it? Or he's dumb enough that he thinks that Israel has a hold on the American heart. Yeah, the American heart, that is in Washington, and I agree with him. They do have a hold on the American heart. Amazing, isn't it? Well, you know, Ron Paul, the only way he's going to be nominated by the Republican convention is if you get out there, because the media is not going to do it. The media is going to do one of these idiots there, just like they did McCain. Now, you know, Gingrich, McCain, these are not electable people, and you know that. You know, Gingrich has so many, he's carrying a lot of baggage with him. He know it, they know it, everybody know it. But yet, they have him, and now he is the number one. While Ron Paul, he's probably 8-9%. That's what's sad about the affairs of the United States. The media is the one that decides. The media is the one that decides, you know, if they tell you he's running first, and then all of a sudden he's running first. They do these polls that they are in with it, and they tell you that, oh yeah, the pollsters say so-and-so is number one. Show the people the truth about each one of them. Cover Ron Paul the way you cover everybody else. And you know what? Shame on these others who attended the Jewish coalition, the Republican Jewish coalition. They should have said, no, we're not going there. I understand it's a private entity, that's fine. But at the end, you know, it puts them in a bad spot. You know, what really happened is not bad for Ron Paul. It's very good for Ron Paul. Because now the whole country knows to separate him out of the pack. And he deserved to be separated out of the pack. You should do exactly like the Republican Jewish coalition did, separate him out of the pack because he's totally different. Yeah, the others are for Israel, he's for America. So which one are you going to actually elect? Who are you going to vote for? Are you going to vote for an Israeli candidate? Or are you going to vote for an American candidate? You decide. But if you want this guy, then you better get out and help elect this guy. He's electable. Believe me, he's electable. But it's going to take the citizens of the United States going door to door, campaigning for this man. This man does not need power. He has been in power for a long time. He has been elected out of his district for a long, long, long time. Even with the opposition of the Zionists, even they have been trying to destroy this man in his district. But you know what? His people believed in him. The problem with the rest of them, including the ones we have here, they cannot trust the people. So they have to go with big money. Because if our congressman trusts that the people will be with him, he will stand up for what is right, come back to his constituents and say, this is why I'm doing this, just like Ron Paul is doing. He's a Republican. Ron Paul is a Republican. But that man is an honorable man. He has morals. He has dignity. He's not willing to sell his soul to the highest bidder like everybody else. That's what Ron Paul needs. Yeah, he started a movement. It was hijacked from him by something called the Tea Party. Rupert Murdoch and the rest of the Zionist neocons, they hijacked that movement, the Ron Paul movement. By now, it would have been a strong third party if Ron Paul, if that movement was allowed to continue being Ron Paul's movement, if the Zionists and the neocons and the idiots did not get in there and the bigots did not get in there and hijack that movement and now destroyed it. Remember Rupert Murdoch's Fox network with their stars, Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity? How much they were for the Tea Party? Just to get it away, use it, abuse it, and when they finish with it, throw it away. It's not good for Ron Paul anymore. It's not good for the country. It's not good for anyone. Out. Anyway, Ron Paul is your candidate if you want to save America. He is truly the savior of this country. Now, let's talk about the the National Defense Authorization Act. What they want to do with it? What is this thing about giving the president extra powers that the Constitution itself does not give him? You know, there are many organizations in the United States, intelligence organizations, and investigate, like the FBI, for instance. They're doing the job. But you see, if the FBI actually arrests somebody, it would have to go through the court systems. But if the military arrests somebody, then they don't go, the civil codes does not apply to the military, and they don't have to do that. So that's what this act actually will do. Now, there are people out there who actually don't like this act. Let's listen to Senator Carl Levin. Now, by the way, the act passed the Senate and it passed the House, and Friday, supposedly, the president will be signing it. I really believe you should tell the president, do not sign this National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, unless they take out the language about arresting American citizens on American soil. Anyway, tell you what, we're going to go to the phones before we play the next clip with the NDAA. Let's go. Okay. Do we have? We don't have. I don't know who was that. Okay. Anyway, let's go and, okay. You're on? Can you hear me? Caller? Okay. I don't know. Anyway, the phone system is acting up, so we're just not gonna mess with the phone system unless it, I guess, unless it acts properly. But let's listen to Senator Carl Levin and what he thinks about this act that you should know about. Let's do it.
And I'm wondering whether the senator is familiar with the fact that the language which precluded the application of Section 1031 to American citizens was in the bill that we originally approved in the Armed Services Committee, and the administration asked us to remove the language which says that U.S. citizens and lawful residents would not be subject to this section. Is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration that asked us to remove the very language which we had in the bill which passed the committee, and that we removed it at the request of the administration, that would have said that this determination would not apply to U.S. citizens and lawful residents? I'm just wondering, is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration which asked us to remove the very language, the absence of which is now objected to by the senator from Illinois?
I'm familiar now because the senator from Michigan has shared that fact with me. I'm also
Actually, we don't have few days because the Congress passed it a couple of days ago, and the Senate had done it earlier, I think the end of last month, and the president is supposed to sign it tomorrow, so we probably don't have much time. But I've heard that he might veto it, so I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen, and then we will let you know. But maybe, maybe it you don't care about it because maybe it's not. But see, the thing is, it doesn't matter if you think that it does not apply to you, because once it's a law, it's a law. It doesn't matter who it applies to. Is going to apply to everybody. And helping the enemy, it's very broad, and what does it mean, helping the enemy? Like Jane Fonda, for instance, when she protested against the war in Vietnam and actually ended up with not just Jane Fonda, but many people who actually protested the war. Would protesting the war be considered as you are being friends with the enemy? or helping the enemy? Because anything can help the enemy. If you criticize your government, it would be considered as helping the enemy. And does that mean we are becoming, and we are on our way to become just like any other Stalinist state? Are we going to be like the old Germany or Russia? Or these dictatorships that are still there in the Middle East, or the dictators that the United States removed? What does that mean? Or is it because maybe it's going to target certain group of people now, then it's okay? But what is helping the enemy means? You know, you have a lot of people who are against the war. You know, what happens to freedom of speech if this act actually is passed and becomes a law? Well, we have another senator actually we will be hearing from, and with this one you will know more, which is Senator Mike Lee. You know, just listen to what these senators are saying, because this act, this authorization act, you know, when you know, they put all this, they squeeze it in this act to basically, you know, kind of tying the hands of the administration. It's like, are you going to veto the whole bill just because of one item that they had inserted in there? So, and it was not taken out. Unfortunately, it was not taken out. So let's go ahead and play the final video that will give you more of an idea of exactly what we are talking about here.
For you. It's been nearly a week now since the United States Senate passed a defense budget which would allow the military to detain Americans on U.S. soil. The president has threatened to veto the bill if it passes the House. But what good are the promises of a man who has already murdered an American overseas without trial? Joining me now is Senator Mike Lee, who stated that, quote, "We will not allow American military personnel to arrest and indefinitely detain U.S. citizens." Senator Lee, it's always a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge.
Senator Lee, tell me where you stand on this. I know there were a number of votes, and some of them were procedural, and some of them were substantive. And it seemed to those of us watching from a distance that at one point you were not upset by the McCain-Levin proposal, and yet you ultimately voted against it. So, does the United States government, through the military or any other agency, have the authority to arrest Americans and lock them up without a trial, without a judge, without charges?
It claims that authority. It should not have that authority, and that's why I was an original co-sponsor of the Feinstein Amendment that would have made that point clear. And that's another reason why I voted against the final bill when it came up for a final vote, is because these provisions remained in there that appeared to extend that authority. That is, the authority indefinitely to detain U.S. citizens without trial, and I'm strongly against that.
Are you as perturbed as I am about the entire concept of using the United States military for domestic law enforcement? And of course, we're not talking about directing traffic. We're talking about sending troops into the streets or into people's homes to arrest them without any judicial intervention or need to file charges whatsoever. Does this trouble you?
Oh, it troubles me immensely because, among other things, it violates the Fifth Amendment, it violates the Sixth Amendment, it has the potential to result in severe violations of the Fourth Amendment, and it also violates the longstanding principle of posse comitatus, the idea that we don't enforce our laws on civilians within the United States through our military forces. This was the whole reason why the American Revolution took place, or a large part of it anyway, and that's why I've been consistent on this front.
The bill that now is on its way to the House, or is at the House, if it is voted on by the House of Representatives and signed by the President, will this reprehensible, utterly troubling, and profoundly unconstitutional provision become the law of the land, and the President can dispatch the military to arrest anyone, perhaps you or me, without evidence, without a charge, and without a judge intervening?
Perhaps so, yes. Now, with or without this law going into effect, these are authorities now claimed by our government, which is disturbing in and of itself. But once you codify it into law, that takes the disturbing aspects of this bill to a whole new level, and that's one of the reasons why I've been so concerned about it. We have to remember, Judge, that it's not just about what the government's doing today. They're not today going out and just randomly arresting people on the streets. But that doesn't mean that a few months or a few years from now, they might not extend their authority that much further. That's why we need to put in place specific structural restraints so that government doesn't and knows that it can't exercise this kind of authority, resulting in indefinite detention of U.S. citizens without trial.
It's perhaps a little unfair for me to ask you to get into the head of your colleagues, Senator Lee, but there were only 7 of you who voted against this. 93 senators, including some colleagues of yours as heretofore faithful to the Constitution as Jim DeMint of South Carolina, voted in favor of this. What's in their heads? Don't they see the profound violation of the Constitution? Don't they see the profound opportunity for the abuse that you just characterized to be used by some president in the future whose name they don't know and in whose hands they would repose no trust?
I unfortunately can't speak for them. I know only what my concerns are, and I've tried to express those to my colleagues and will continue to do so. I remember the words of the Federalist Papers that if men were angels, they'd have no need for government. And if government could be run by angels, then we would have no need of these pretty burdensome structural restraints on government power. But the fact is, we're not angels, and those who run government are not angels, and that's why we have to restrain their power. And giving U.S. military the authority to arrest and indefinitely detain a U.S. citizen without trial is a recipe for disaster.
Isn't it equally as offensive to the Constitution if the U.S. military arrests non-U.S. citizens on U.S. soil? Because after all, the Fifth Amendment protects persons. It doesn't limit its protection to Americans.
That is right, Judge. There are different standards that sometimes I think have to apply when you're talking about a prisoner of war situation. During World War II, when we arrested Nazi soldiers, we didn't suddenly subject them during the time that they remained as prisoners of war to the U.S. court system. We didn't allow them to avail themselves of that benefit. So I think there is a difference between citizens on the one hand and prisoners of war on the other hand. But no matter where you and I might disagree as to proper treatment of prisoners of war, I think we ought to all be able to agree as Americans that indefinite military detention without trial of American citizens is categorically unacceptable.
Senator Mike Lee, defending the Constitution. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I do believe we get that phone situation. We're going to try it. Caller, can you hear me? All right. Well, I thought we did. And we tested it during the break, but it sounds like the caller cannot hear me. Can you hear me, caller? Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on with that one. Anyway, so apparently it worked fine while the clip was working. We tested it, but it is not working now, or maybe the problem is on their end. Anyway, liberties, losing our liberties, I forgot who said that if we lose our liberties for our security, we are going, I don't know if it was Thomas Jefferson or one of the big ones. He said that if we lose our freedoms or liberties for our security, we're going to end up losing both. And I believe we are on that road of losing both our liberties and our security. And unfortunately, just like Ron Paul said, when is it going to stop? When are we going to stop sending our money and our kids to fight for Israel? Now, unfortunately, when you talk like this in America, you are considered an extremist. That's what the host of CNN actually called, that's what the Jewish Coalition said about Ron Paul, that he's an extremist. So now if a man, actually he is a liberal. Yeah, he's a liberal Republican. He's a man who likes liberties for everybody. It doesn't matter what it is. if it's your freedom, if you want to, let's see if we can get this. Caller, can you hear me? Caller, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Are you there? Okay. Well, I guess we will continue testing this to see, because I have no idea why it is not, but it's not. We are pressing the button and I see the light, but no one's talking. I don't know. It could be somebody who is not talking. That's a possibility too. That somebody just wants to play. I don't know. You know what? I guess why don't you guys in the booth call and let's see. Maybe it is someone who is playing. Let's test it. So just call me and you can just say hello. Anyway, the number is 337-366-8951. Could be someone playing. It could be a problem with the system. We don't know at this point. Okay? There we go. Caller, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, it worked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's about the liberty and all that.
Yes.
I'm for Ron Paul, and I think that what's happened in this country is like they begin to say what happened in Germany. Look at all the cameras we have all over the place. Look, we're being watched all the time and stuff like this. And you look at what these jailhouses do. They make money off of it. They're privatizing them all. What's going to happen is we're just going to get gobbled up, and there will be no more America. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, and I'm glad actually the phone worked. So you know, for those guys who are trying to call and it did not work, try it now. It might work for you. Yeah, we are losing our liberty. Okay? Caller, you're on. Can you hear me? Well, you know what? We know the system works, so this is somebody playing. Okay. Unfortunately, you know, with the new system, since we moved to the new studio, it used to be where the calls will go directly into the booth, and then they will answer it, put them on hold, and then we'll take them as we go. But now it comes straight to the studio, because we did not want to actually screen anybody. We never screened anyone, and we never censured anyone, but maybe we will have to resort to another system if this continues, because definitely the phone works. We know the phone works, but apparently somebody is just wanting to, does not like what we are saying, which is fine. This is America. You get to disagree, and that's what's so lovely about America. So far, we're losing that. Okay, it is. Okay, I'm being told that it's a crank call. So apparently someone does not like what we are saying, even though what we are saying, we're saying it for you. Whoever is calling, we're saying it for your own protection. And definitely, apparently, you don't see it our way, which is fine. Again, that's what's so beautiful about America. Don't shut out anyone. Listen to everybody, but give everybody equal rights. Hear everybody. Hear what they're saying. Excuse me. Hear what everybody's saying, because that's only when you hear the other guy, that's called democracy. But when you shut him down, that's not democracy. And what the Republican Jewish Coalition did by shutting down Ron Paul, that's not democracy. That's not America. Maybe this stuff goes there in Israel because they always shut down and shut out the Palestinians from any debate. And they are shutting out Ron Paul because he said we're sending our money and kids for Israel. So this is a presidential, this is not Hisham Tillawi speaking. This is a presidential candidate, a very strong contender and a very respected man in the United States. He's an American. He is a true patriot. He is true American. Unless we don't believe in America anymore. Well, we're going to try the phone again. Caller, you're on.
Yes.
Yes, hi.
All right. I've been watching your show.
Yes. Do me a favor.
I'm just curious.
Turn down.
I've enjoyed it. Now, what is your name?
Can you turn down your TV and listen to me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
thank you. What is my name?
Wait.
My name is
music.
Hisham Tilawi, and they will probably put it there on the screen so you can see it. So please put my name on the screen so they can see it. So they will put it on the screen. It's Hisham Tilawi.
Are you from Lafayette? I mean,
I'm from Lafayette. I live in Lafayette, but people hear us here all over the world, actually, as we speak.
It's very interesting.
Well, thank you. Is this your first time?
Yes. I mean, I've seen it before, but I've never called.
Ah.
So, doctor, are you a medical doctor?
No, political science.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, it's a very interesting show. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Well, great.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. I appreciate that. That was a very good call, and that's the calls that we need. We need to hear from the people. From the people, because only the people will end up getting Ron Paul in the White House. Caller, you're on. Okay. Well, play again. So we know we are being attacked. We know that. Okay. So we go into, so we know, which is good. By the way, it is good. You know, when we know that we are being attacked on our phones because we are talking for America, we are putting America first. Number one, that's where our heart is. Not in Israel. Not like all of the Republican and the Democrat or the Democratic candidates. They are, you should have heard what Obama said about Israel and the security of Israel. He said this just a couple of days ago in New York. He said that under his administration, that no other administration has done so much for Israel. They are bragging how much they're doing for Israel. What have you done for us, the Americans? Hello? Can you see us? What have you done for us? Okay? Yep. Yeah. Thank you. What have you, Obama, what have you done for us? Okay. Caller, you're on. Okay. Well, we are still being attacked, so that's good. That's good. All right, that's good. I mean, you can't take over. You cannot take over. Okay. You agree with me though, right? No? Okay. All right, go away. Okay. Anyway, well, this is my little buddy here. He is actually going to be with me for a while, and he's going to be helping me do the program, so hopefully you will understand. If you cannot understand me, maybe you will understand him. And I thought I told you to go. Okay. All right, he wants to stay. He wants you to see him. Okay. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Paul is the one. They excluded him. Now, I was talking about, actually, you see what you did? You made me forget what I was talking about. Okay. Okay, now you can go. What Obama said, he said that he has done so much for Israel, more than any other administration in American history, and I say, yes, he did. Now, that was a change we believe in, and that was a change that actually took place. He did so much for those people. Look what he did in the Middle East. He took out Libya. He took out Egypt. He took out Tunisia. He took out, and he is in the process of taking out Syria. Do you understand what that means? He is taking out Syria. Now, for who? He's not taking out Syria for the Syrians. He's not worried about Syrians. He's worried about the Israelis. So yes, that is a change we can believe in. Anyway, that's our show for tonight, and hopefully next week, oh, by the way, next week will probably be my last show. I am going overseas for 2 weeks, and then I will be back and tell you all about it. Hopefully, we will have something to, we're there. Okay, thank you. Anyway, that's all we have for you. All we have time to say is good night, go do the right thing, and don't forget to put America first. USA, number one, not Israel. We don't live in Israel, we live in USA. Good night, go do the right thing.